Okay, I'd like to demonstrate how to easily create chord progressions using our chord formulas that we saw in the previous video. I'm just going to do this in, the natural C minor or C major and A minor. You can apply this to all the other scales if you want to. It's the exact same thing. But just for the purposes of this video, because it's easy and because you probably know how to play all these chords, I'm just going to, if I had you play a C sharp minor, it might be difficult to find that. So anyway, all you're going to have to do in order to create a cool chord progression is, first of all, you start on the 1. Okay? That is the rule. You have to start on the 1. If you don't, then you're not really playing in the key of C major. Alright, so then you're going to choose, well, let's say 3 other random chords. So I'm going to choose a 3. That'll be my next chord. I'll choose a 5. That'll be my following chord, and then I'll choose a 6 to end it off. And I'm literally just choosing this at random. Okay? And I've got 4 chords. I mean, I'm sure you've heard that 4-chord song, or even the game 4 chords. Well, the reason we call it 4 chords is because music comes in 4s. And so we're just going to choose 4 chords and we're going to play them. So then let's see what those chords are. It turns out to be a C, an E minor, a G, and A minor. So first you choose the formula, 1, 3, 5, 6. That's your chord progression. And then you figure out what the chords are. So if this was in a different scale, like say it was the A major scale, well, then it would be, first you would start on the A, the 3 would be C sharp, minor, of course, the 5 would be E, and then the 6th would be F sharp major. Alright, so that's why I was saying we're just going to do this in the regular key, because as soon as you change keys, you have various sharps, and the chord is going to be a little bit harder to play. So anyways, now what we have to do is start playing these chords. So C, E minor, G, and A minor. I hope you realize that we've established that these 7 chords up here, they follow a formula. So all of those chords are good choices. So it doesn't matter what we choose, it doesn't matter the order. You just choose chords at random and you start on the C. So here's what it's going to sound like, and I'm going to just put a little strumming pattern to it. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't really sound that great, and that's just kind of how music is sometimes. When, that's why you have hit songs and why you don't have good songs. Let's see if we could switch some of these around, and it might sound better. Now that I have this chord progression, I'm going to just try to flip the last 2. I'm just going to make some random changes to it. I don't want to, maybe I could either replace one of the chords, or I'm going to just decide to flip these 2. So I'm going to put the 5 after the 6, just to see how it's going to sound. I have no idea. I'm just doing this at random. So that sounds a lot better. So just by changing that, just by making a little change, all of a sudden my chord progression sounds almost like a hit song, right? Alright, so let's just make another change. Let's just, erase everything and try a new thing. Again, we have to start on the 1, so it has to happen. Let's go to a 4, and then we'll go to a 2, and then we'll go to a, we're actually going to ignore this 7. This is out of bounds because the B diminished. My guess is that you don't know how to play it. And so the thing is, this chord also makes things sound a little bit awkward. It's not going to sound very nice. It's going to basically sound like this. I don't even know how to make this chord right here, but I think it's going to sound something like that. So if I throw that chord into this chord progression, it's just going to sound evil. So I'm just going to ignore that. Here I'll just end on a 6. Last time we ended on a 6, it sounded terrible. But this time, let's see if that changes. It might sound good this time. So, here we've got C, that's the 4, F. The 2 is D minor. The A minor at the end here. Okay. Let's just go and play through this. So actually that sounds pretty cool. Very interesting chord progression. Yeah, okay, so this was basically a major. You just start on the big one and then you play some other ones. Now let's do the same thing for minor. So I'll just put them down here. Obviously in minor we have to start on the 1, which would be A minor. Then we continue, we'll just choose some ones at random, it doesn't matter. We'll choose a 6, that's major 6. We'll go to a 3, a big 3, and then we'll end it on a 4. Just like that. Just choosing these at random. So what are the chords now? We have to take a look. F, 3 is C, D minor. If this was another key, say C minor, I would start on the C. This formula here, that is my chord progression. It doesn't matter what key I'm in. I'm playing the chords 1, 6, 3, 4. So this is my chord progression. Just because I'm in the key of A minor, that doesn't mean anything. If I go to the next key, it's still the exact same thing that we're playing, but it's just with different chords. So C minor, here we play the 6 of C minor is going to be A, I think it's just A major. Could be A flat. I think it's A flat. Anyway, so then we're going here, this is the 3rd, so E flat. And then here we have a F minor. Okay, so it just takes a little bit of thinking to come up with these. This, as you can see now, we have a C minor chord, we have an A flat chord, we have an E flat chord, and we have an F minor chord. So unless you know how to play those on the guitar, I would, just highly suggest to stick with this regular old A, F, C, D minor. So let me just play this on the guitar. A minor. Alright, so now it's ending kind of weak. I like the first 3, but I think the end is a little bit weak. So I'm going to decide to change this. And I'm just going to try putting it on a 5 at the end. I just happen to know it's probably going to sound pretty good if I do that, which would be the chord E minor, if I end things on a 5. Now I'll explain sort of a good way to choose these Roman numerals. Instead of being completely at random, there's actually a decent order that you might want to consider putting these in. So I'll explain that in another video. But anyway, let's go ahead and try this progression now. I'm losing it here, but anyway, that actually sounded good. So now let's just create a new chord progression, completely at random. And yeah, so this is just the way that most musicians write their songs. Is they just kind of choose things at random, and it follows the formula. So like, it doesn't matter what you play; it's all gonna sound good. Well, we'll go to a 4, we'll go to a 6, and then we'll end on a 7. Okay? 4, 6, 7. Let's try this out. What are the chords again? So D minor, F, and G. All right. Alright, so that was a pretty good chord progression too. No need to change anything there. I think everything was just fine. And there we go. We have just a whatever chord progression. So yeah, this is basically what you want to be doing if you want to create chord progressions. You have to understand what the formula is, which I've explained in another video. And then you just choose 4 at random, making sure that you start always on the 1. Alright? And if you don't like it, just change it. It doesn't matter. Okay, so this is how you're going to want to do that. Now, I'm going to make one more video on the concept of, like, basically how to choose these chords in a specific order that's going to make it sound good. But for this video, I think I've sort of demonstrated enough. This is the random order chord progressions video. Chord progressions randomly built, and you can see how you can have some success with this random method of just choosing chords at random. There's no problem, and you've also seen how when you go into different keys, the chords are going to be it's going to sound exactly the same. Like, it's not like it's going to sound any different. It's just going to be harder to play the chords. So if I'm playing like a 1, 4, 5 and ending on G, or yeah, if I just play a 1, 4, 5 chord progression, here's a D minor, A, D minor, E minor. Let's say if I wanted to play this in a different key, like say C minor, over here, then it would sound like this. Now, it sounds higher pitched, but the feeling is still minor. It's not really changed very much. If I play it over here, it still sounds minor. It's pretty much the exact same thing. If you put them side by side, there's a big emotional jump between one and the other. But if you isolate one and just listen to it by itself, it's going to sound basically exactly the same as another one listened to in isolation. So that's why changing keys in music, unless you're doing it in the same song, like side by side, you're like, all right, now let's change keys instantly and abruptly. That's when you get a big emotional jump, which you felt when I changed the keys. So you're thinking, oh, that must sound different. But really, the function's the same. The chord progression's the same. It sounds exactly the same if you listen to it in isolation. So, so that's basically, I mean, it's not going to sound the same. It has the same feeling, okay? The same exact feeling. But anyway, let's move on to the next video on sort of a better way to choose chords.